right, we are recording. Welcome, everybody. I'm really excited to be here tonight. When Moira messaged me, it feels like it was about a month ago, and she's like, hey, let's do something. I was like, yes, let's do something. So she said, let's reward our July Success Club earners with a call with us tonight. I don't know if you guys have been following my journey over the last 2 weeks, but we had a rough time, or we're having a rough time on Diesel Nation. One of my best friends and one of the top leaders on my team lost her sister, and so it's been like crazy to jump back into the business after that. It's gonna be part of kind of what I talk about tonight, but I need you guys tonight. So a little selfishly, I'm leaning on not only I see a lot of my coaches on this call, but Moira and your team tonight to re-inspire me to get back to work, because clearly it's been rough. So Moira, I just have to say thank you so much for, number one, inviting me to do this. It's such a great honor. And then number two, you guys also were gracious enough to allow us to reschedule this call from last week to this week. So I thank you for that.
Yes. Well, and I just want to honor you, and my heart has just broken wide open for all of you guys, having lost a sister myself. And it was like, whew, all of that came back up. And to see how you guys have rallied as a team, and a team it shouldn't even be in the vocabulary. To see how you've come together as a family, is just the most incredible thing to witness. And it really, truly, I mean, I was just watching in complete awe of you guys, and really such a testimony to what this is. And it's funny because, we said, I told my team, obviously, that you were going through nothing short of a tragedy. And people were like, no, we can totally reschedule. I know we already rescheduled, but we can do it again. And I know that you need this. And I have walked through so many horrific things pre-coaching, which if I had only had this, it would have been completely different experience. But I've also walked through a lot of really tough stuff on this coaching journey. And it's always been, this is when I need this the most. This is when I lean in. When my team thinks I need to lean out, I'm like, no, I need to lean in. And I've always seen it as that. My mom was in and out of the hospital, and it was really scary stuff last year, which you've gone through. And this was my saving grace. This was my sanity. This was me getting out of my head and into my heart to serve. And it breaks my heart, not to call anyone out on anything, but it breaks my heart when I hear people's excuses as to why they can't do this. And I think, no, that is why you need this. That is why you need to do this. And when you've experienced that in this journey, after you've been here just a little while, it's just such a gift. It's such a gift what we get to do and how we get to come together. And it's just been incredibly beautiful to watch you.
You gain so much perspective when things like this happen. Never in a million years did I ever think I'd be sitting in these shoes. I don't think our team, no one really ever expects your life to be rocked in this kind of fashion, but everything's a lesson, right? And so there's so much perspective to gain from it. One of the things that's glaring to me, you guys, and it didn't even come from me because I ain't that smart. It came from Monica herself. The day that everything kind of happened, I'm sitting in the hospital, and Monica we have this funny thing where when I hug her, she gets all uncomfortable, and I just have my hand on her thigh, and she leans over, she goes, I'm going to hit Success Club this month, right? And I'm like, Monica, like, they don't even think about the business right now. She goes, no, I need the business right now. And at that moment, it wasn't about Success Club. It was her understanding that it's the power of this community and her commitment to her team and to her business. It mattered to her so profoundly that she just had to kind of just get it off her chest. And then you start to realize, like, my gosh, how many people do we know that we're scared to invite, we're scared to talk to, we're scared to initiate that conversation, need this in their life, whether it comes from a place of community, which I know all of us love it so much. That's one of the main reasons that we are so passionate about this. It is the community, it's the family. But from a place of needing that self-care and self-love, so that they can be brave enough to step forward every single day and, you know, weather life, or whether it's, you know, from the health perspective that someone needs this. So it's like, it all came full circle, and there's so many lessons. I mean, I know that she's going to be talking a lot about everything that she's learned, but just from the top looking down at this whole thing, we got to stop being so scared to talk about what we get to do every single day, and the impact that we can have on people's lives, because this really freaking matters, you guys. It's so much more than Success Club. It's so much more than you know, a workout, or, you know, we say that last night, it's more than a workout and a shake. Like, think about that. And while you're going forward from this point on, have that perspective that you can literally, by you staying consistent in your business, whether it's this month or a year from now or 2 years from now, you can look back and say, man, I really changed someone's life, or I really helped someone through something really dark, or whatever it is. Like, none of that happens if you stop. None of that happens if you stop trying. None of that happens if someone convinces you that you're not good enough, or some hater on Instagram says something not nice. Like, none of that will happen. So if there's one thing by the end of tonight that I can impart on you, is to keep going, because you will make a significant impact in people's lives if you do that.
Amen, sister. Amen. I just kind of want to echo that. And like, Kristina and I were chatting, and we're like, what do we want this call to be? And I was like, well, let's give them like our top Success Club tips, and because that's why you earn this call. And then we talked about doing just like a Q&A, which we kind of settled on, like that would probably be much better for you guys and probably a little bit more entertaining. And when I was thinking about like top Success Club tips, I was thinking like of going into it like I would a call around that. Like, tip number 1, tip number 2, you know, put up a transformation, run a free group, do your list of 100 no's. And like just literally sliding into this call in this space. It is, there is strategy behind Beachbody. There is strategy behind being a top coach. But what a lot of newer coaches don't understand is what we're trying to tell you right now. Like, this for me was life or death. You know, like I needed this. We have coaches on my team that were suicidal moms before they stepped into this community. We are changing lives and saving lives. And if you're brand new, you might not have experienced that level yet, but if you stick around, we 100% guarantee you that you will, that you are building a family. You are building a family that you get to choose. How cool is that? And, you know, I love the expression that you change a mom, you change a family. And not all of you are moms, but it couldn't be more true. When you change a mama, you change a family. And that just goes for every woman, because every woman is part of a family, whether you're a daughter, a sister, whatever. And we are changing people's families with what we are doing. So one of the best things that I know my team hears from me a lot is you need to care more about other people than you do your own ego. And I remember that like hitting me like right between the eyes. I was so wrapped up in my own fear about me. It was all about me. What are you going to think about me? What is she going to say about me? What is she going to whisper about me? And it's so self-centered. And sometimes we don't see it for what it is. It is so self-centered fear. And when we can make that switch and we start to care more about other people than our own self-absorption, everything changes. And I really wake up and think like, I might have to throw myself on the cross today. You know, I might need to put something out there on social media that's going to be hard, that's going to bare my soul and show my scars. but I need to talk about this. Not only on some level is it super healing to me to step into my authenticity, because that, number one, is the biggest confidence builder you will ever give yourself. That just stepping through the fear and saying and sharing who you are and what your life really looks like. You know, it's the scariest thing you can ever do, but in fact, it is the biggest thing that's going to build your self-confidence. But when we wake up to serve others, your business will have more success than you could ever imagine. If you're waking up to get Success Club points and sign people up and earn income, those things aren't going to happen. But when you truly wake up and lead with, it's the go-giver, I think, that law in the go-giver, he talks about you need to give more in value to people than you expect in payment. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times we are like, I'm not making enough money. I'm this, I'm not, I'm not making as much as she is. We get in that comparison game. And if you understand that the law, one of the laws of success is you should never be earning what you're giving out. You should always give more than you are getting back. And you will have success beyond comprehension in your life.
I agree, 100%. I told a group of my diamond coaches today, I said, after having experiences, I go, I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it anymore. I want us to have real and honest conversations. And I struggled with that in my coaching career for a long time. I used to always sugarcoat everything because I was always afraid of being a little too harsh, and not in a mean way, but in a tough love kind of way. And I hearing Moira just talk about being vulnerable, being transparent, being bold, I'm just gonna say it. Top coaches, like if you want to hit more than just, do more than just hit Success Club, right? Because, raise your hand if you want more than just the bare minimum that this business provides, right? Raise your hand. Yeah, so I'm going to say it. Top coaches are the best storytellers. Top coaches are the ones that get most vulnerable. Top coaches are the ones that are most bold in sharing the stories of their life. And I struggled, and maybe more can relate to this point. At the beginning of my business, I always thought that in order to be successful, you had to have a rags to riches story. Mm-hmm. That if you didn't have that story that you came from massive debt or, a horrible childhood or all those things that you hear, right? You hear that a lot, that you couldn't be successful. When I realized that there are things that have happened to me in my life that I can help and add value to other people that are just going to sound different and look different than anybody other's stories, but it's my story. And when I started sharing my stories boldly and with complete vulnerability and transparency is when my business started to develop. And the more I do that and the braver I get and the more I experience life, because life doesn't just go up to the day you signed up to Beachbody. Clearly, we know, because some of us have been, newer coaches, but some of us have been at this for a while, that life happens after Beachbody too. There's a lot of things that we experience during this time, whether it's having a baby, whether it's postpartum depression, whether it's the loss of someone, whether it's a diagnosis like my son DJ being diagnosed with autism, that the bolder you get in sharing those stories, not just sharing them for pity or attention, but it's adding value. What did you learn from those experiences? What did you do during that time that made you a better person, that got you through? What are the tools that you used to deal with everything that happened during that period or season of your lifetime? When you talk about value, right? A lot of people are like, what meal plan can I give? Or what freebie can I offer? No, it's your story that's your value. So right now, you guys need to do that work, that mindset, that digging into all the events of your life and say, how can I help other people? Because that's how you're going to connect. That's how you're going to relate. That's how you're going to take your business from hitting Success Club, which is always going to be a goal. Let's face it. That's the minimum non-negotiable in my business every single month. But taking it from that to a top earning coach, to a coach that builds a team and a community and a culture that when you look back at this whole experience, you're like, my gosh, look what we did and look what we're doing. It's through your stories. It's through empowering the people that you bring onto your team to tell their stories that you take your business from where it is right now to the next level. Would you agree with that, Moira?
I would totally agree with that. And I would say too that I think, you know, first off, everything that you want in this business is right on the other side of that fear. It is right on the other side of that fear. And for a long time in this business, I felt like I didn't have a thing. I didn't have the Lindsay Matway story. I didn't have the transformation story. And I literally would rack my brain and I'm like, what is there to talk about? I actually love personal development and fitness. Like those are my passions. And so it was really hard for me to see beyond those two things. And I can also remember probably just 2 years ago, Amy Silverman saying to me on the phone, hey, why don't you talk about your alcoholism more? And I was like, hush. I was literally like, because it's like totally anonymous and private. And I honestly thought like it wasn't an option. It wasn't an option. And so it took me time in this business to get comfortable. And I didn't come out guns blazing. You know, I shared a teeny tiny bit and like felt like I was going to throw up. And then two things would happen. Two opposite things happen every time I share something vulnerable. A lot of people don't give a shit. A lot of people are like, yeah, okay, whatever, I got my step 2, I could care less. Like completely just, they don't even notice that I completely stepped out of the box of vulnerability or into the box of vulnerability. And then the other people reach out and connect because they need help and they're so grateful. And I hear stories from the bottoms of their souls. So 2 things are going to happen. People are not, there might be some judgy people there, but like that's a sliver of the pie. The pie is half the people aren't going to care at all, and half of the people you are going to reach on such a deep level that it will be so worth it. And that feedback is going to be what encourages you to share more. And it will get easier and it'll get more comfortable as you do it. Yeah. So, you know, Kristina and I talked about before this call when we were like in our Success Club minds, I was like, we need them to take action. I want them to commit to what they're going to do by Friday. 5 things. And we're in our business minds. And I think the action is commit to sharing your story. Commit to sharing a piece of your story, a breadcrumb of your story. Let's link arms, you guys, and do something scary. Meaning, what is one of those things that you're afraid to talk about? I mean, it's still hard for me to talk about the fact that I suffer from bulimia. That is a shameful, ugly thing to share. What is that thing that you're afraid to share? Yep. And I want you to lean in. I want you to lean in and know that that is part of your purpose on this earth. I remember hearing Glennon Melton talk, and I honestly don't remember that much of what she talked about when I went to hear her talk, but what I remember is someone stood up at the end, because she talked a lot about purpose, and someone stood up at the end in the audience for a question during Q&A, and she called on them, and the person said, how do you find your purpose? And I was sitting in the audience like, yes, that question, that's the method. How do you do that? And she said what I will never forget. She said, you go where your pain is. You go where your heart breaks. That is your purpose. And I was like, whoa. And my heart breaks for alcoholics. My sister died an alcoholic. My heart breaks for people suffering with eating disorders. My heart breaks for women that hate their body. My heart breaks for a lot of things. And I get to serve all of those things through this platform.
Yeah, that's deep. I don't know about you guys, but we could just end the call right there. But, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but in that whole very powerful segment, Moira not one time mentioned the word Beachbody or Shakeology or MM100, because Beachbody is just a tool that we use. That's not your purpose. And I think a lot of times we get that confused, especially as new coaches. I know as a new coach, I was very gung-ho. I was a coach, and I bleed Beachbody. I mean, you guys know that 100%. And I do talk about Beachbody, but my purpose is not Beachbody. My purpose is to help other women and men, because I do still attract men to the business, believe it or not, but is to have them fight through mediocrity and wanting more for their life in all aspects of their life, and pushing their mindset to grow and to be significant and to contribute to society and to be leaders, right? That's what I'm aiming for, not just lose 10 pounds or drink that shake every day. That's just what we get to do on a daily basis that allows us to elicit our purpose from other people, right? So one thing I wanted to touch on is what Moira just described, and sharing her story, and what I described as well. You know, sharing the story, it's gonna require you to walk through that fear, right? There is fear that is involved in growing this business, and your ability to manage the emotions when it comes to fear is really what's going to take your business to the next level, and being able to push through. Success Club, you guys, that's easy, right? Hitting Success Club, that's easy. And I don't want to trivialize it, because I understand sometimes there are months where it's not that easy for certain people. It might not be that easy in your head to you. And that's just because you've overcomplicated it in your head. You've made it this big, scary thing, when in actuality, it's the easiest thing you will do in this business. Connecting 3 people to our health and fitness program, Shakeology Performance Line, or any iteration of that. That's the easy part, right? And so I want you to get into the mindset right now that hitting Success Club, it's just the minimum requirement for you to have this business, right? Because what I want for everybody on this call is to not just do that, but take this business and use it for all that you can. Get the most out of the compensation plan. Get the most out of the rewards of helping people in their health and fitness and growing their business. Just take from this opportunity, because it will be the most rewarding thing, besides raising your family, of course, in your life, of what it can do for you. So I want you to get rid of that fear, or that mindset that hitting Success Hub must be this hard thing, when in actuality it's the easiest thing that you will do every single day in your business. And how you make it easy is you start dreaming bigger. You have to dream bigger. And there's some people that are, let me see if I can mute you, right? Instead of saying, I just want to hit SC6, or my goal is to hit Success Club 6, start thinking bigger than that. And I know Moira is so good with vision, and I'm kind of teasing her to go there now, because she's the best at this. But you guys, I will tell you that when I started shooting for the stars in my business, and dreaming about the legacy, not just the goal I was going to hit, but the legacy I'm leaving with my family, Success Club it became easy. It became natural. And it's funny how this happens, because I've seen it with my coaches. I'm looking at a few of them that are just pros at hitting Success Club, right? There becomes a point in your business when you start dreaming big, when you start seeing this as a legacy builder for you, not only you, but for your children and your children's children's children, that you just naturally do it. And it gets you to a place where you start focusing on the other things that are going to build your business, which is developing your coaches, which is mentoring your leaders, which is hosting events for your team, so that your team goes from just you to, whoa, what is going on here? Get out of the mindset that this is just about Success Club, and start dreaming again. Moira, go, do it.
Yeah, just real quick, I've got a quick question.
Yeah.
So when you guys talk about, you know, kind of opening up to people and that kind of attracts them in, how do you transition from doing that and attracting them, right? So like being vulnerable with people and then transition to talking about Beachbody. So I get like the first part, you know, I think it was Kristina mentioned like, you know, you didn't mention Beachbody at all through the struggles that you went through. So then like, when do you transition to, you know, letting people know like, hey.
So I can handle that quickly, and I'm sure Moira is going to agree with this. There has to always be a strategy. So hi, nice to meet you, Gilbert. The business is not just about just, you know, the stories that you tell. That's one of the ways you add value to people that makes people connect with you, right? There's always a strategy behind the business and what your goals are. So let's say on a monthly basis, I have goals of hitting Success Club, plus I also have goals of how many coaches I want to bring on to my personally sponsored team. So within that, that goal setting that I do at the beginning of every single month, I strategize. When am I going to host coaching sneak peeks? When am I going to talk about my coaching sneak peeks? What's my challenge group going to be this month? When am I going to start inviting to that challenge group, right? So as you're sharing, as you're doing social media, as you're adding value through your posts and Instagram stories and lives and all that we do, right? Those are the things we do. Always have a strategy. That was actually one of my points for tonight, which is have a plan. What's your plan to hit Success Club? So my plan, like I said, is I will, I always invite to the business opportunity. I try to do that almost daily on my stories or in a post by sharing, you know, something that's going on with my team, whether it's recognition or how Beachbody has changed my life, et cetera, et cetera. But I also have a challenge group strategy. So this month for me, every fall, I do the Back to Me challenge. So my posts and in my stories and out on my Instagram and my Facebook is all inviting to the Back to Me challenge, right? So always have a plan. Moira, I don't know if you wanted to add to that.
I love that, and I totally agree. And I think it's that you're connecting with people and you're doing your job on social media and you're showing up and you're sharing about the coaching opportunity, about your challenge groups. And so those people that you're having conversations with and building relationships with see what's happening. But it's also, for me, it's an immediate like, oh my gosh, you have to come into my community. Like you have to be part of this. Whether that's just my accountability group or my team. Like there, and that is just absolutely from my heart, that when I see somebody hurting or in pain or that can identify with me because of my addictions or eating disorders or you name it, I've got it. Then I'm just like, come into the family, come into the tribe, this community, this, what you are going to be surrounded by is going to change you. You know, who we surround ourselves with is everything. And so I speak to that piece of it very quickly. Again, not because I'm trying to sign them up or get Success Club points, because I believe in it so much. I believe in the community. I believe in how we show up as women and people. And I'm convicted in that belief. And that's something that I think sometimes coaches are lacking. You know, if you don't have that belief, if you don't believe Beachbody Blue, then that it doesn't translate, and it's hard to kind of get people over the hump. So that's how I would kind of answer that. And Aubrey, who is one of my coaches, actually just shared something in the chat that like literally sums that up. So a couple things. I want to go back really quickly. I'll touch on vision in a second because it is everything. I'm still trying to get to your Super Saturday, and I haven't been invited, Kristina. I'm just gonna like show up one Super Saturday. I was just picturing us on stage together. That's vision, right? That's like, I get these visions and I'm like, we need to be presenting together somewhere somehow. So I'm seeing a lot of people talk in the chat, which is like literally drawing me to tears. And you guys are talking about the tough stuff that's hard to talk about. And I think there's something important to kind of, I hate to say teach or share, is that Ashley Molstad actually spoke to this when she was on the stage. And she had this like one sentence that just kind of put it all together. And I can't remember what that sentence was. But she talked about when you talk about and share the tough stuff, you kind of need to be in the solution of that. And so a lot of times, like I can of course talk about like I'm sober now. I can talk about how I did it. And that's a lot easier for me to talk about because the problem is so far removed. But you guys, I come up against problems all the time. And Brian and my husband and I were like this last week. And I literally like called our therapist and I was like, can we come in today? Can we come in today? Because I cannot speak to him. I need a moderator. And it was ugly. It was ugly, you know, and we hadn't been in that space in God knows how long. And I knew that I wanted to share that to help others. And I kind of have it like, it keeps getting pushed out, and I'm going to share about it later on this week. But I'm going to share about like, we aren't perfect. We're not we are not Barbie and Ken. And we've got our stuff. And these are the actions that I took immediately to get me in a better place. And so even if you're still in the problem, you know, some of you guys shared about like your struggles with your own body or sugar addiction. You can still be in the grips of a problem and share the solution that you are seeking today. You can share about even just like, you know, you're in this horrible thing, whatever you're going through, but you're choosing to show up every day. You are choosing to push play every day. You are choosing your morning process every day. You are choosing to fill your cup because you would not be surviving what you're going through without these kind of strategies in place. So you can, whenever you do share it, share a solution as well, even if you're still in the thick of it. Yeah. That's just kind of a side note on a lot of the questions that were in the chat. I feel like my team's gonna like plug their ears when I talk vision.
No, they do
not. All the time. But Kristina, like you spoke about dreaming bigger and raising the bar. And I literally speak to this on every single GSR call. So my poor partner in crime down there, Lauren's like, oh, here we go again. I hear this every week, Moira. But I share the story of how I was a coach for 3 months, hitting Success Club 6, thinking it was the hardest thing in the world. I just felt like this is hard. I don't know how, you know, I was being judgy and I was, you know, picking everybody apart. I don't know how they do this. Oh, well, this must be a sales machine. Like, you know, I was just, when we can't accomplish something or we fear we can't, we judge. And I was being that coach. I feel like almost all new coaches come in kind of with that mindset. And something happened where I saw what top coaches were really doing. I had no idea up until that 4th month that there were coaches hitting Success Club 100 or 200 and crazy things. And I didn't necessarily even want to aspire to that. I still have no desire, never have had a desire to hit Success Club 200. I love to share that when I was the number 5 coach 2 years ago, I recruited an average of 10 coaches per month, and at least half of them were just customers signing up as coaches. 10. That means I was signing up maybe 5 people that wanted to maybe work the business. So I've never been one of those people that wanted that, but I raised my bar. When I saw and I understood that top coaches were not hitting Success Club 6, and I had a desire to earn a 6-figure income as a new coach, and I knew I had to level up. And so I did one simple thing. Literally sitting in that folding chair at a Super Saturday, knowing at that point that I believed in this more than anything I'd ever tried in my life. So I had built the belief in those first few months. And I said to myself, there are $1 million earners in this company. If someone gave me $1 million at the end of August, could I sign 50 people up? And before I even finished the sentence, my head said, hell yes. Hell yes. I know I could. I know I could. So where was the disconnect? If the prize was big enough, if someone was going to hand me $1 million check at the end of the month to go find 50 people living in a country where millions of people are struggling with their health and their body and their fitness and their nutrition, I'm surrounded by it every single day. Knowing that, could I find 50 people? Absolutely. So all that had to happen was a mindset shift. And when I was looking for 3 people, My actions aligned with looking for 3 people. Instantaneously, I switched to, I'm going to go find 50. And my actions did a 180. My posts did a 180. My conversations did a 180. My just balls grew, like everything shifted 180 degrees because I was going to go find 50 freaking people. And so it just all changed. I changed just like that because I set my bar higher. And I think I only found 15, but finding 15 versus 3 was huge. And it built my belief in me. And the work that I put in set me up to hit Success Club 40 the next month, and 35 the next month, and 45 the next month. And all it set the wheels in motion. But what corresponded with all of that was a lot of inside work. It was a lot of, I've shared this on many stages, that one magic question. If I had all the money and all the time in the world, what would my life, how would I design my life? Where would I live? What kind of friends would I hang out with? What would I do in my free time? How would I give back to my community? Who would my kids be growing up as? If I had all the time and all the money in the world, how different would my family look? How different would my marriage look differently? And I just wrote it down. And my team knows that we read our vision 7 days a week. I read my vision 7 days a week. It travels with me, and I travel a lot. It is literally like the anchor. Like, you get up and brush your teeth, I get up and read my vision. It's what I do because I have to remind myself every single day of my why. And it is, in one perfect word, legacy, just like you said. This is a vision that I had, you guys. When I wrote this vision out, I was literally a coach. I was not even an emerald. And I talked about the tribe of women, the family of women that I had alongside me that was out there fighting to change the world. I talked about how different my marriage looked. I talked about who my kids were being raised up to be. And I can tell you that by choosing this business, by sacrificing some hard things and choosing this business, you are giving your family the biggest gift you could ever give them, because you are giving them a completely different mom, or a completely different wife, or a completely different daughter, a completely different friend. I am almost not recognizable to the person that I was 4 years ago. It blows my mind sometimes, the way I react to things, or don't react to things, more like it. The way I interact with everyone. My cousin came down who this past weekend, who I've probably seen like 15 times in my life. And she was like, "You used to be really hard." And I was like, "Well, I still am in lots of ways, don't worry. But I'm different in the world. I am a different human being in the world, but I am absolutely a different mom and a different wife and a different sister and all of that." And that is my vision for that legacy that I want to create. So when I wake up and I have to grind and I have to invite and I have to post and I have to hustle, I have been on calls Sunday nights, Monday nights, Tuesday nights. I'm going to be on calls tonight until 10:45 straight. And I'm like, I'm about to lose my mind. Guess what, you guys? I'm not doing it so I can make more money. I am not doing it so I can be the #1 coach. I am doing it because of this right here. Because this is the biggest gift. I can't even believe that I get to come on here and help you and help pave the way and just translate what has worked for me in my life and hope to change yours. That this is my job is bananas. And so you have to wake up and work for that vision for your life. You don't want to wake up and work for Success Club points. Success Club points, when you learn how to hit higher ones, they're fun. Recruiting coaches is fun. Rank advancing is fun. but it's sure as shit is not why I'm doing this. And Kristina can also vouch for this. I'm sure you will hit an income where I'm like, well, it's not about the money anymore. We don't need that. So why am I here? Why am I working 3 nights in a row? Because I want to help other women find what I have found here. And that's myself. That is a family. That is work that's changing the world. And you guys all have that on a silver platter right in front of you. And I'm sorry, Gilbert, I think it was, he's on another page that I keep saying women because all I can see are women on the screen. We love that on our team. It's amazing.
We do. That was amazing. It really is. I mean, when it all boils down to it, you guys, it will all come to you. It will all make sense to you. One day, if you do this, if you do the inner hard work. Because Moira talks about having an income that you wake up and you're like, it's not about that anymore. Or it's not about the success of points anymore. It's not about the number of coaches you recruit. One day, you will experience that. And it's the craziest thing in the world. But what precedes that is having to do the hard work internally. It's working on your personal growth. And I'm reading John Maxwell's new book on network marketing. It's really good. It's like a short little book. And there's so many great nuggets in just the introduction where he talks about why people need network marketing, which is awesome that now John Maxwell is like putting his rubber stamp on our industry, which is amazing. But I encourage you to read it. And he talks about his growth plan and how early on in his career, one of his mentors says, John, what's your personal development growth plan? And he said, I didn't have one. He goes, well, you got to get one. And so many of you guys, and I'm looking at my coaches, I'm probably looking at a lot of Moira's team, and you take that for granted. You say there has to be some other secret. Moira has something up her sleeve that's different, or Kristina might have something up her sleeve that's different. And I will tell you that there is nothing different. The way we speak now, the way we carry ourselves now, the fact that we're different, I too have that same testimony. A lot of my coaches know that I'm not the same person I was 9 years ago, 8 years ago, 7 years ago. I'm not the same person I was last year. And it's not because of my workouts or that I drink Shakeology. It's because I've made a commitment to growth. I've made a commitment to growth, and your success in this business is always going to be a direct reflection of the inner growth you experience. Yes, a great transformation with a program will help. I have also been a testament to that, and I'm never going to I'm never going to downplay, I guess is the right word, the fact that we have to get results with our programs in order to make those certain connections. But it's the work that you do on the inside every day, the tough questions, the leadership questions, the mindset questions, the why do I have limiting belief questions, what are my limiting beliefs and how do I get rid of them questions that are going to change your life. If there's anything that I can impart on you is that don't take personal development for granted. We're not just talking heads when we say that. When I started coaching and I went to that first Success Club trip and I heard what Barbie Decker Kalev now was earning, and she said, I just do personal development, I was like, then I'm going to do that. And I'm telling you that my income today is absolutely a direct reflection of the investments that I make in my personal development, whether it's the conferences that I go to, the calls that I attend, the books that I read, the audios. And it's not just listening to everything that just comes out because it's popular. It's working on strengthening my strengths, but also not letting my weaknesses be my limitations, right? So make sure you're doing that kind of work. When you do that and you grow and your mindset just explodes and you understand why the Ashley Molstad's, right, 200, 300 successful points, that makes my brain melt. I don't even know how she does that, but I will tell you that if you speak to Ashley and you ask her how, she's going to say, why not? because her mindset is so crazy big and her vision is so crazy big that that's probably low for her, right? That she's probably got more work to do. So if you're setting the bar at 6, right, I'm going to tell you, you better knock those limiting beliefs out of your mind, because you're never going to get your business to move. You're always going to be playing catch up, or you're always going to be in a place where you feel frustration in growing your business as opposed to joy, right? You get to joy when you're excited every day. You turn up the energy when you start messaging people and inviting, and they feel that energy and they want to join you, right? So mindset is everything. It's the joystick that controls your business, and you have to make the investments in your inner growth. Yes?
Yes. And I just want to like knock that one totally out of the park, like, or I don't know what the expression is, like take it all the way home, whatever it is. Because what was coming up for me when you were speaking was, you know, we talked a lot about like being uncomfortable and stepping into that uncomfortability by sharing on social media. But I really want to emphasize how this applies in the world of personal development and getting uncomfortable. When my husband and I were at each other's throats last week, I could have made nice. I could have swept it under the rug and like had a happy home. And I was like, oh no, we're going to go duke it out. And I will tell you that we walked out of therapy worse, because when you uncover it all, it gets harder and it gets more painful. And 2 years ago, I went to Date with Destiny with him, and talk about like the equivalent of 20 years of therapy in 6 days and like being gutted. But that is what I literally go and sign myself up for. I knew what I was getting into when I went to Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny. And what I really want to challenge you to, and why this is coming back up for me, is when I was a brand new coach, I kind of felt that inner whisper to go to UPW, Tony's like quick 3-day workshop. I didn't have the time. I certainly didn't have the money. I was not making any. And then I had in fact left my job. And my husband was like not on board with this whole Beachbody thing. And now I was going to leave my family and go see Tony Robbins. That was really uncomfortable. And I pushed and I made it happen. And what is so funny is a small sliver of the argument last week is because I wanted to go back to Business Mastery in January, and he wanted to take me somewhere for our honeymoon. And I want to lean into my personal growth. I want to lean into that. I want to go on a 6-day retreat and just be immersed, because I know that I come out of it a completely different person and a completely different leader. And I go out of my way to get uncomfortable in my personal growth. And so what I would challenge you guys to do tonight is to do, you can make it happen. You can go see Tony Robbins or Brendon Bouchard or Rachel Hollis or whoever it is. When you go to an event live, it is just a completely different animal than reading personal development for 15 minutes a day. Completely and totally different on every level. So I would really dig deep into that. I'm going to plug Charleston real quick, because Rise Business with Rachel Hollis, Brendon Bouchard, and like all of these other magical people is coming to Charleston in November. It's literally like if I could concoct a personal development seminar, this would be it, and it happens to be in my hometown. Maybe that's karma for me getting so uncomfortable and always going places. Karma in a good way. So get uncomfortable and know that you can afford it. You can take the time away. Your kids will survive, because in fact, you are giving them a gift. Every single time I leave town, I feel guilty. Every single time. Every single time. But then there's so many moments that I'm like, whoa, I am blown away by who my children are because of what I'm doing.
I agree. I have a similar story with my first personal development event, which Amy Silverman, by the way, you guys, she was always like the one that led the charge for me, because I came into the business, as you guys know, I think most of you know, I was an attorney, and I thought I had it all figured out, right? I didn't need all that wackadoodle stuff, but I saw Amy start taking off in her business, and I kept seeing her showing up at these events, and I'm like, what is this? And she went to Danny Johnson. And I remember her coming back and saying, you know, you really need to do this. And then I think Mindy Horde, which is one of our coaches, was at that same Danny Johnson with her. And I just saw Mindy like come back like with her eyes. She was like a deer in headlights, like ready to take on the world. And Becky and I might have been making $200, $250, $300 a week in my business at the time. We told our husbands, I don't know what Amy and Mindy smoked over there in Danny Johnson, but we're going. And we went, and it was that event of all of them. I've done UPW. I do Entre Leadership every year. It was Danny Johnson. I can't remember the name of the conference, but it's that main one that she does. Changed my life, because that's when I said, oh, this is why you need personal development to grow this kind of business. Because this is a people business. This is a mindset business. This is a volunteer army, you guys. And I need everyone to understand this as you go forward, right? Because successive, obviously, it's up to you. You have to do that every single month. But in order to inspire your coaches, your tribe, your community to not only come and stay, but be productive, you need to inspire them. You need to be able to lead them. You need to keep that volunteer army marching forward together, because this is one of those businesses where people come and go, right? You're going to have to be resilient in that, and knowing that someone that came into the business with all the potential and all the hope and the dreams might not be around 6 months from now or a year from now. It is like the crappy part, but also all of that makes you stronger. It learns. They're all lessons to be learned by every single person that walks in through the doors of your team, stays and is productive, stays and isn't productive, or leaves. There are lessons to be learned in all of that, and you get to learn that not because you label things as failure, but because of you label them as lessons, and you do that by developing your personal and your inner growth. Yeah, did I totally ramble there?
No, not at all. I was just thinking, I want to pull a couple quick questions in the last little bit, but I can remember also thinking like in awe when I was in Dallas, like all by myself, had left my family, and I was experiencing Tony Robbins for the first time. I can remember thinking like so clearly to myself, if this whole job with Beachbody that I'm trying to do as a brand new coach got me here, and this experience I knew was gonna change me fundamentally, that's payment enough. Mm-hmm. That is payment enough. Payment does not always come in the form of your paycheck. And so those events they will change you in ways that you can't articulate, that we can't put into words. And the people that go to events and the people that show up for Super Saturdays and get to Summit, and especially the people that go outside the Beachbody bubble and go to personal development seminars, I can guarantee you they're going to be here next year, and they're going to have moved their business forward because they'll have moved their mind forward. So let's do this, because I love how we were going to do Q&A for 45 minutes. Oops. And I have a 9 o'clock call for Melanie Mitro, so I'm going to have to jump off like people over. But Kristina, I know my biggest question from my team to you, and it's funny, when several people asked this, I was like, oh, because I kind of was working full-time. I was working full-time. I had like a 70-hour-a-week business when I first started, but then I cut the ties and I got out and I jumped into this. And so I had time, not initially, but 4 or 5 months in, I had time. So how did this look for you when you were, being a full-time attorney? And a couple questions in the chat spoke to the same workplace like conundrum of, I hate my job and I want to do this full-time, but I can't say that on social media.
Yeah. First of all, I get that question a lot, and Jennifer Unker from our team, she's on the call, she asked me to ask you that same question. So it's both. The first few years, I wrote a blog on this because it is a question that I get often asked. I look back and it was very blurry to me, those times, because DJ was only 4 months old when I became a coach. Marley was 2. I was working as a full-time attorney, and then Becky said, hey, we need to get in shape, drink Shakeology, and we're going to build this business. And I'm like, okay. So I will start with the simple answer that sacrifice is involved in building a business while working full-time. I think you guys know that. I don't think that's a big secret. I was waking up real early in the morning to get my workouts in. I would sneak work in at all the pockets that I could during the day. Lunch, I worked with Monica, so we would go to lunch together. We would work. We would talk about the business. I had an hour commute, so it was either coach calls or personal development on the way to work, on the way back home. I just used my time wisely. Goal setting was huge. It still is, but more so when I was working a full-time job, because it got me focused on the right activities. Even though the goals evolved throughout those 4 years that I was practicing and building my business, it kept me, hitting those markers in my business, both in terms of rank, Success Club, and recruiting, that kept the ball moving forward. But at the same time, I attended every event, regardless, whether it was Summit, Super Saturdays, it didn't matter, because I knew once I started seeing those paychecks on Thursday start creeping up, that eventually, if I kept working at it, that the work that I was doing now, that I was sacrificing and cutting time out of, TV and all that other good stuff, that eventually it was going to pay off, to the fact that, to the point where it would replace my lawyer income. And it did do that. And I always respected that notion. So I never, ever, didn't work a day, or, took, days off at a time, because I remember I was in the 21-day fixed test group while we were prepping for a big wrongful death trial. And I was taking my food to the depositions all day long. And it's just because it was important to me, right? It was important to me. And I saw the big picture even back then. So I'm just going to say sacrifice. Stay focused. Be intentional with your time. Make it non-negotiable, because, I always say Beachbody is the solution to all of our problems. It really is. When you break it down, Beachbody is the solution. Our finances, we were just not cutting it with my income as an attorney and Danny's job at the time. This was the solution. This was going to help us get out of that. So I respected that. And I always treated my business like if it was going to pay me $1 million, whether that week I made $30 or that week I made $1,000 a week or whatever it was, I always treated it like one day it was going to pay me $1 million. All right, it's 8:58 and you have to go.
I just want to say, did you just hear that? I mean, I heard it was a priority, and I had zero excuses. But what you said at the end just nailed it. You treated this like $1 million business. So if you have a family, or you have another job, or whatever your excuse is, what if you were earning $1 million from this opportunity right now, today? What would you do differently today if this was paying you $1 million? It would look totally different, right? I mean, a lot of you are probably like, well, I quit my job. I get that. But you would actually treat this like a business.
Yeah.
You would find the time, you would make it a priority, and there wouldn't be excuses. So I love that. I love that.
It also, just so you know, and I know Moira feels the same way about this as me, that now that we do earn, a significant amount of money through this opportunity, now I feel a responsibility, a bigger responsibility. So you'll never see me coast. You'll never see me at not hitting Success Club. You'll never see me not recruiting coach. I feel a bigger responsibility to it now than ever before, because I know I can make a more significant impact. And so it's a beautiful freaking thing when you get there, you guys. And what's going to get you there is consistency. What's going to get you there is your passion. You're getting rid of all your limiting beliefs and working on your mindset. And I know you guys can do this. So was that a great Success Club call? Right? I don't think we mentioned Success Club maybe 3 or 4 times, but I hope that was helpful.
Thank you so much for blessing us with your amazingness. This was so fun, you guys. Thank you, everybody, for making the time. And we will get the recording in the hands of whoever needs that, too. Yeah. So thanks, Kristina. Our thoughts and prayers are with you. Love you.
Thank you. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye. Yay, and I caught a little boomerang at the end of that. Bye, you guys. I will share the recording as soon as it's up. Bye.